last week on Gleeboot, Santana proposed to Brittany, and Kurt decided to rain on their parade and say, we're too young to get married, right in the middle of their proposal. And Santana rightfully called him out on it. And everything else was really just like really bad mashups and mindless noise, and Kurt projecting his trauma onto children in a long history of Glee Club teachers doing that. And that's what you missed on Gleeboot.
Gleeboot.
Yep.
Yeah, that happened.
By the way, guys, my mom said hi.
Oh my God, hi, Beth. Yeah, so this last episode, right? Not great music. This episode had like no music, so that's going to be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I think there are 4 songs.
Was it only 4? Okay.
4?
Yeah.
I only counted 3.
Wait, yeah.
I guess technically, yeah, it's 4.
Yeah. Most of them narratively meaningless. Welcome back to Gleeboot, the show where we get drunk and talk about rebooting Glee one episode at a time. I'm Cullen.
Alyssa.
And I'm Hannah.
And this guest was on Gleeboot so long ago, I think his guest appearance predates our opening catchphrase. And that is Kyle.
Hello. Thank you for having me again.
Welcome back.
Yes, it's good to be back. Thank you, Cullen. Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, Hannah.
Kyle is a podcaster friend of mine who was on truly one of our most unhinged episodes where we talked about Rocky Horror Glee Show. And I was like, I haven't seen this episode, but from what I know, this is like one of the most unhinged parts of Glee. So we need to re-traumatize this man. We are inviting him back.
Oh, I feel like every podcast doesn't really hit its stride until after like the first 10 or 15 episodes when you figure out what you like and what you're going to do. So I was honored to have been in the very early stages of the pupil stage of the podcast before it blossomed into the beautiful butterfly I can't wait to be a part of.
Oh boy. Can we be a moth?
Sure.
Gleeboot would be a moth. Yeah. So Kyle,
long time no see. I feel like, so you said, I took the quizzes, and we're like, we had just like, I had mentally assumed that you had done that last time you were on, but this predates us having our guest take the quiz. Well, even if I had taken it back then, I've changed and the world's changed. So I'm sure my answers would have completely changed if I had taken it back then.
True. I mean, we weren't even using Zoom. I think when you were on, we were using Zencaster.
Before the golden age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We should cut that out because I don't have good things to say about them.
Hashtag the curse of Born This Way episode.
Oh, you don't use Riverside now? I get so many ads for Riverside.
You know what? I tried it.
We tested it. Not impressed.
Oh.
Yeah. You're paying about the same, and there are some bonus features, but like the audio quality is like not as good, if not, or just at best just the same as Zoom. Yeah. So don't trust him.
Okay. Well,
I
still really
dance, but not Riverside. Yeah.
I'm really pleased with the results of my quiz. I don't know if you want to blow the lid off of them now or save them for later, but I was really happy with the results.
What character would you be? I'm gonna say Quinn for Gray.
Quinn, because everyone ends up being a Quinn because she's just like all over the place. But now I'm very curious.
I got Mercedes Jones. It said, you're a diva. You're outspoken and headstrong, but you also can be very sensitive. You have big goals and dreams that you're striving toward. I like that. I'm Mercedes.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. I don't know if you've ever had a Mercedes.
She's like honestly one of the best characters on Glee. Scott, our professor, was Mercedes.
I was going to say, we definitely had a Mercedes.
I remember now.
I remember texting Brittany. I just thought you wanted to know Scott was Mercedes.
The elite few.
Yes.
Honestly, you were the cream of the crop. You rise above the rest of us garbage. Us Blaine's and Rachel's and Santana's.
Yeah.
Who is your boyfriend? Did you get Sam?
I got Blaine. Blaine is effortlessly charming, and he'll be down for any adventure you want to do.
Except slightly not incest.
Oh, right. As this episode.
is so weird to establish.
Well, it made me think that it probably happens a lot more than we want to admit. Like when you hook up with someone, you're in a small town, like if your families grew up there, you could be third cousins. For sure. You don't know.
You know what? The European royalty didn't even really start getting inbred until like the 1500s to 1800s. And that was centuries of that shit. So like, honestly, you're probably going to be fine marrying your third cousin. You don't even need permission from that? You don't even need permission from the Pope, right? Like they used to have to get when they married their cousins.
Yeah, it's A-okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good to go.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. Yeah. Blaine, as a Blaine, I do love Blaine. He's been a bit of a mess this season.
It didn't occur to me that some people could identify as the boyfriends that you then get in the quiz. That complicates things.
It does. It really does. Though sometimes I'm like, am I a Blaine still? Am I a Sam? And I don't know who I'm probably one of those two. Maybe I'm a Tina. Maybe I'm a Tina. I do love her.
Existential Glee crisis.
A glycis, as they say. Shout out to
existential glycis.
Shout out to the announcement board at the school that said ISIS Awareness Week.
Jesus.
Yes, I saw that. Oh boy.
All right, so we're here to talk about season 3, episode 4, Hurt Locker
season
part
3?
1. Season 6.
God, please stop taking me back in time. This is the second time this season.
I just can't. I don't even know where we are in time and space anymore. I was like, this episode is just so much noise. It's just shit happening, but it doesn't really seem to mean anything.
Yep. Yeah. Is there a story? I'm unconvinced.
Will and Kurt and Rachel are reacting to things with mild annoyance. The only person that's really invested in the proceedings is Sue.
Yep.
The antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
The protagonists are just well, whatever the fuck is happening. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that there's 6 seasons or 5 seasons at this point of background, but I remember when I first jumped on the show that the draw was I was in a show choir in high school, and so it was oh, they're writing about us, and oh, aren't these stories so relatable? And this episode is not, and I wonder if it's just kind of a symptom of being on for so long and having so many characters and threads and to play with that I don't really feel anything for these characters. They're all cartoons.
That's a perfect way to sum it up, is because when you think of early Glee, there was this relatability, especially, as a Midwestern theater kid, I connected with it. That was part of its charm. It was always a heightened reality, but there was something you could connect with, especially, Kurt coming out to his dad, these Finn thinking he was the father of Quinn's baby, all this stuff. And
super relatable.
Yeah, and it wasn't always great, but it was, it had that human thing, and this really doesn't, there's no pathos in this. There's no human, the closest we get is a cover of Vanessa Carlton's song, but even half of that party is hypnotized.
And you're saying that's not usual, or that is now at this point, that it feels like an episode of Looney Tunes?
I think this is the most we've reached into that, but it's not uncommon at this point. There was last season, lest we forget, Blaine was hallucinating and saw everyone as puppets.
Oh, Lord.
It was disturbing.
They stretched that out over multiple episodes?
No, that was one episode.
Okay. They do sometimes reference it.
They do, yeah. And then, because we had Rachel it being on Funny Girl, then quitting to be in a sitcom in LA. And then the premise of this season is the sitcom was so bad, she's now home.
Okay, so help me out. There's a lot of characters missing in this season. And you're telling me that some of them are graduated and stuff. They don't do any help for the layman here who hasn't been catching up the entire time. I felt like...
Yeah, last time you saw was Rocky Horror. We were there with the OG Glee Club. This was before we even had Sugar and Joe and Rory.
Mm-hmm.
Rory gets mentioned later when she's dressing him down.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So basically what's happened is they've graduated.
Okay.
Rachel flamed out bright and early in her professional career. She quit college because she was playing Fanny Bryce in Broadway, which she's now doing IRL. And then she quit because she got bored and she went to star in a sitcom with Jim Rash from Community was producing it. And then it flopped because it was filmed live and like all these disasters happened.
Oh no.
And they cut the
Very bad.
singing. It's called That's So Rachel, but there was no psychic element. So it was really doomed to fail. Kurt is still in school, but he has like a semester where he like work study essentially. Is supposed to like do community volunteering.
Anywhere in the world.
So meanwhile, Sue became principal of their school. She banned all humanities.
There's an active caning policy.
If you're late, you are caned. That is real. That has been double confirmed.
She six dogs on the students, and people can only eat kale.
Yeah, and if you weigh too much, sirens will go off and she'll put a pig nose on you and she'll put you in a pig pen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So Rachel, instead of calling, I don't know, the UN, is like, the school needs a Glee club. And so she is using the last money of her stardom to fund the Glee club.
Does that hold up now? Maybe in 2015 that was just super hilarious, abusing children, but does that hold up?
No, because it's literally like just what Republicans do now. Like Missouri literally brought back spanking in schools like this year.
It doesn't feel like satire.
Yeah, now. It just feels like is this Ron DeSantis? This show is from beginning to end an Obama administration show, and it really shows here. And it's like this is just what right-wing politicians are now. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Sue Sylvester, except Sue is an atheist, I guess. Marjorie espouses those Christian values as she cheats on her husband 3 times. So Sue's in charge. Rachel's bringing back the Glee Club with Kurt. Sam was like assistant coach to the football team because he had a brief modeling career in New York and then was like, I don't really like it here. I want to move home.
And that's Cord Overstreet.
Cord Overstreet,
correct.
Yes, who we saw in concert, just as hot IRL.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Coach Beast is trans now, which isn't how I would refer to a real trans person's journey. But the writing is very shoehorned, if you know anything about this character's arc. So it's just kind of weird. But Sam is now interim coach of the football team. And who else is around? Okay, Will moved to Vocal Adrenaline because when Sue canceled the Glee Club for getting in like 2nd or 3rd place in nationals, because they weren't winners, even though they placed in the nation, but they were canceled, and Will went on to teach at Vocal Adrenaline, their old rivals, because the job pays more. He's married to his crush Emma, the one he did Rocky Horror for.
They have a child.
She does not appeared yet this season.
Also, the pictures of the child are not the same pictures of the child that we saw before. I just wanted to point that out.
When he sings Don't Stop Believing to every single night, apparently.
That poor child. That's another form of abuse.
Yeah, and as for the rest of the Glee Club, they're all kind of doing their things. Quinn is at Yale, Puck's in the military, Mercedes is like kind of famous. Santana and Brittany are lesbians. I don't know. I think that's
They're
their
lesbians
full-time
together.
job.
They're in lesbians together.
Lesbians. And then Blaine now teaches at Dalton. I almost called it the Warblers. He coaches the Warblers at Dalton.
Yes.
Him and Kurt were engaged. Kurt broke it off because they're having fights about hand towels. And
what?
Yes.
It was stupid.
So basically, after they graduated, Blaine felt neglected, cheated on Kurt with someone whose Facebook profile picture was a lighthouse.
Yes,
and then
attracted to lighthouses.
And then they break up because Blaine cheated. And then Blaine tries to win him back. They
successfully.
They get back together, and then right away he proposes. Kurt says yes. They move in together when Blaine graduates. Then they're like, it's really hard to live together. We should be apart. They're apart. Then everyone else leaves New York. They move back in. Then Kurt is like, we fight all the time about dumb shit. We should break up. And like Kurt is coming off as very cold. Blaine is devastated. Blaine ends up failing out of school, goes back to his hometown, gets a job coaching the Warblers, starts dating Karofsky, the boy who bullied Kurt and threatened to murder him.
What?
Yes. Karofsky's gone through a big arc since then. Like he tried to kill himself after he was outed. Him and Kurt had a reconciliation.
Oh my God, this show.
So now Karofsky's
Listen,
just
this
been
is
like
better than actually watching it.
It is for sure.
So
Absolutely.
Karofsky has kind of, so Blaine and Karofsky start dating. Kurt comes back to Lima and is like, I made a mistake. I want to win you back. And Blaine's like, I moved on. And then that's why Kurt shat all over Santana and Brittany getting engaged. He's like, we're too young. And they're like, you can't just project your stuff onto us. And so he's like, yeah, I should move on. So when he's like being all high and mighty at Sue this episode, like, I've moved on from Blaine. That happened last episode where he decided to move on.
Okay. It was a choppy transition there, as in no transition. So
that explains kind of his decision making in this episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's really where the major players are. Tina's at Brown.
Don't we see the Mercedes and the wheelchair guy like peek their head around a corner for 1 second? They don't get any lines in this episode. Am I crazy? Did I imagine that?
That was in the prologue, I think.
That's right.
That's what you missed. Yeah,
Okay.
They were all, last episode was Homecoming. So they were all back.
Okay. It's like a reunion.
Yeah, but
It was post homecoming.
They have a
It was the episode
reunion.
after homecoming.
Oh, yeah, it was. They stay like they'll come back,
some
visit
reason.
high school, and be there for like multiple weeks, just walking around the school.
God, I never, even as a high schooler, the people who would do that, I would look at them with so much cringe, just like, oh, we're going back to see the old teachers and hanging out for like an hour.
Yeah, I still remember visiting my old college after grad school, like for a break to visit friends. Like I had just graduated, like I still had friends there, and some girl was like, "Why are you here? I remember you." And
well, you didn't like go to like high five your old professors and stuff. You went to just be on campus, right?
Yeah, I would just go see my friends. Or like I would make, if I saw a professor, it'd be like, "Do you want to meet here?" Like we'd get lunch. Like it wasn't like I'm just gonna show up at your office hours.
Oh, you did
walk into your class.
Sit in the back. Just give him a look.
Okay, so this is the Hurt Locker. Okay, what happens? It's mainly Sue.
Wait. What are we drinking?
What are we drinking? Oh yeah.
The most important part.
I'm drinking a Stone IPA with a little demon dude on it, and a raspberry liqueur Chambord.
It's
in a little
literally
potion bottle.
it's like the size of a like a ping pong. No, not a ping pong ball.
It looks like
a wiffle ball or something. Nope, that's too big.
It's like a thumb.
Something in between a ping pong ball and a wiffle ball.
It looks like a health potion in D&D. That's what it is.
It's like a plum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's about the right size. There we go. You got it.
Kyle, what are you drinking?
I took taking sizes in high school. Ballast Point. I'm enjoying a nice Sculpin IPA. But I also don't want to go downstairs when I'm all out. So I've got myself a lunchbox here full of Trulies.
Oh
nice.
My God. Prepared.
Yes.
I am drinking a blonde ale brewed with strawberries. It's from Quaff On Brewing Company, based here in Indiana, Nashville, Indiana, wherever that is.
Quaff on.
Pretty good.
Quaff off. Quaff on. Quaff off. The quaffer.
My hair is not down, but yeah, it's pretty good. Not too bad.
Nice.
And it's got this fancy lady's hair on it. Coiffed, if you will.
I am drinking a mixed drink. I haven't done one of these in a while, but I had to kind of start looking at the alcohols that I was drinking and which ones, had gluten in them. Beer has a lot of gluten.
Yes, it does.
There's a lot of gluten in beer.
Drinkable bread.
That's why I like seltzers too.
Mhm.
This is 2 ounces of vodka, 2 ounces of coconut water, 2 ounces of pineapple juice, 1 ounce of pomegranate juice, shaken together with ice, poured over ice, and then you top the glass off with lime LaCroix.
Ooh,
So
and what do you
is
call
this?
this delicious
Yeah.
concoction?
Sue's Sunset. I really
Sue's
want her to go to
Sunset.
bed.
All right. All right, you'll have to send us the drink ingredients, and we will make that. We will bring back the drink posts.
We're bringing it back.
Final season. We're hitting all the greats. All right. Speaking of final seasons, Glee is really only interested in recycling plot lines. We have these new students who we get nothing on. They do nothing. Poor Samantha Ware got bullied by Leah Michelle on set for this. Yeah, so Kyle, just quick. I don't know if you remember when Leah Michelle was kind of like pseudo canceled.
For not being able to read, or is that more recent?
So that meme has surpassed the thing that actually happened. Was that she was very verbally abusive to people on set, and some of those comments were very racialized.
Oh, good lord!
Specifically,
okay, go ahead.
Specifically to Samantha Ware's character Jane, like she's the young black girl with the curly hair. She said something like, "I'm gonna shit in your wig."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Hello Fresh canceled.
Somebody so well read wouldn't stoop to such language.
Right?
Somebody
More
who
evidence.
owns as many books as she does wouldn't stoop to such language.
They would say defecate. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So
defecate in your weave.
Trying to figure out, describe the plots is this episode is really just Sue machinating. Like there's not really characters working towards goals other than Sue.
Yeah.
Correct.
Every storyline has Sue in it somehow.
Yeah.
I was going to praise
Yeah.
this episode for like really giving us some like internal insight into Sue's mental methodology and why she does things. But if I remember correctly, that's what every episode basically is examining Sue from as many different angles as we can. She's basically the main character.
I mean, at this point, she like does horrible things and then they try and humanize her. But at this point, she's done so many horrible things. I'm like, you're just bad. Like,
she's a bitch.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's a good song.
That was like, we need another song in this episode. Boom.
So I have the storyline as Sue doing Blurt, Sue doing Will and Rachel, Sue doing Sam and Rachel.
Yeah.
Isn't that it? Like, that's all that happens. It's just Sue.
She's just messing with people. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
What a great structure.
So, yeah, Sue invites Will to lunch to reminisce, and he's talking about singing his Baby Don't Stop Believing every night. Horrifying. And he leaves a plastic fork on the table, which is annoying. That I would be annoyed.
Are you serious?
I don't know if I'd be like fully annoyed. I'd be like, okay, why can't you clean it up yourself? And then like forget that it happened like 10 seconds later. I would like pick up the fork and throw it away and then just like move on with my life. So it's like,
see, I would not even pick up the fork. I would just be like, oh, okay, somebody else can do it.
yeah.
She's psychotic. I feel like it's the first drop to show us that she is not a reasonable actor.
Well, she says it is the straw that broke the camel's back, or the fork that broke the camel's back. She's infuriated. She's incensed. And she's like, I need to go to my hurt locker. So she and Becky drive. She's talking about she's thinking of retiring. And then she opens this murder board locker. where she has
it's like one of those personal like storage units that definitely always have bodies in them.
Yeah. And it's like all these like ropes connecting like Will and Rachel and Kurt and Blaine. And I'm like, at what point, like, Finn died and you would have had to take him off this board. Would that make you reconsider your life? I don't know. But there's like a picture of the season 1 Glee Club with Matt, who did get spider eggs in his ears.
I wasn't sure because they flash around them and I don't watch the show, but were there like a bunch? I assumed there were a bunch of references to past like schemes that she's done and she has in this storage unit.
I mean, some of it seemed like references. Others seemed like weird, just junk thrown around.
Okay, like the pinata.
It's kind of more like they collected random props that are callbacks to other episodes.
Yeah, that's the prop storage unit for Glee. It just happened. And that's also where the writers write. They're putting together storylines. That's the string.
I feel like they took 10 seconds to think about the title of this episode when they were looking at that, because the Hurt Locker, when I thought about it, I don't know why I don't know what I expected. Like, was there going to be some kind of Hurt Locker style tension where someone had to defuse, like a situation as though it were a bomb? But no, it's literally just a locker where she keeps stuff where she likes to hurt people. It is a hurt locker. Get it?
I thought the reference was the ISIS Awareness Week thing. I was like, oh, that's the Hurt Locker reference. Got it.
There's the sign says, Matt, where is he? Or like, where is he? Pointing to him. He transferred. That's what happened. As she did force Marley and all those characters to transfer.
Yeah, but Matt transferred a long time ago, and hopefully he's doing something where he's away from spiders so he can lay eggs in his ears.
Yeah.
Or he became Spider-Man.
No.
One of the two.
Or he became Spider-Man.
Yes.
I mean, this is a Disney property now. And Spider-Man is kind of a Disney property. So still
kind of. Yeah,
it's complicated. IP law.
IP law is a scam invented by Disney. So he is so Sue is just like going through, and then she's talking to Becky. She's like puts up the fork and she's like, I'm going to destroy them. I'm going to destroy Will's career. I'm going to break Rachel's heart. I'm going to destroy the Glee Club once and for all for the 17th time.
But I'm going to make sure that Blurt gets back together.
Yeah. So then she asked Becky to leave, and she opens up her Klaine shipping. Well, we call them Blurt, but she calls them Klaine. They're her shipping.
A ship.
Yeah, it's like a live Tumblr. It's like an
altar. It's like a shrine.
Yeah, it is weird.
Yeah.
There's a photo of them kissing that is just a still from the show. I'm like, how did she get that?
Yeah, there's all
I love
this.
when shows do that.
Yeah, this is all this.
It's my favorite thing.
Like they'll show a montage of photos from the past, and a couple of them are literally just like step and repeats of the actors from previous like red carpet appearances.
Love it.
Yeah, I do also love they'll do that in period pieces where they'll have like a portrait, but it's like of an event that you like. It's not people sitting for a portrait, it's like a photograph, and I'm like, but like how?
Yeah,
how would they get that? So she has this Klaine altar, and she's like, apart they're so whiny, so shrill. Together they're a symphony of self-congratulatory sodomy.
Yes. Talking about butt stuff.
That's how that's how every gay aspires to describe their relationship.
It is so creepy how she cares about them at all and idolizes that, and has put all of this mental energy and actual energy into making a shrine to a person she calls porcelain. It's so creepy.
Yeah.
And also it makes no sense just like based on how she's reacted to them before.
They're still whiny when they're together. In fact, I think they're even more whiny.
And she's barely been involved. Like you could see how she could have some kind of affection for Kurt. Her interactions with Blaine include like ruining his parents' credit to make him join the Cheerios, putting cement in his hair, making him wear a thong.
making fun of him for the puppet stuff, which he deserved, but still, he's a child.
And she called him a doe-eyed pervert, a young Burt Reynolds. I think those were his nicknames.
Yes.
Other gay. Yeah. So I guess I could see how she could want Kurt to be happy. You could make me believe that, but I'm like, this woman has no affection for Blaine. And she wants to be the flower girl at their fabulous gay wedding.
That's all that she cares about. She doesn't actually care about Kurt or anyone's happiness. She just wants to be part of their wedding, which is so bizarre because why is that assumed that she would be involved?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
There's no reason.
Yeah. So she is like, she brings him in. She's like, poor son, I need you back together with Blaine. And he's like, no, I moved on. Like, this is insane. She's like, what about your fabulous gay wedding? And I'm like, what if they have a really understated wedding? I mean, it's Kurt, so the odds of that. I could see them having like a Moulin Rouge themed wedding. Or like a Madonna themed wedding.
Or a Bengals wedding.
Yeah. So Kurt is just like, no, I'm not interested. And so she, it's hard. Okay, we're just talking about Klaine first. I think that's what we're doing. So like Blaine is talking about the invitational and he just like gets a text, oh my God, someone broke into our apartment.
The line delivery is so tired.
Darren Chris is just like,
some of the lines are just so tired. I laughed out loud and actually rewatched it because I was like, wow, I have to see that again.
Well, it's just,
just like, oh, someone broke into our apartment.
And then they run over and Kurt and Rachel come with him.
Yeah. But also, okay, so when like we're
Did
the
they
camera
all
in
drive separate cars?
Oh, yeah.
Blaine?
The editing on that was so confusing and made me go, oh, they must just live on campus. They just went like up the elevator around the corner from the theater. And
they drove 20 minutes.
They left all of their children there in the auditorium by themselves.
They're like, I'm sure there's an adult wandering these halls that'll just supervise them.
somewhere.
Quinn's
Brad,
around.
the piano player.
Yeah.
Brad,
oh
my
God. So as like the shot of them as they come in the door is like just Karofsky's like back of his knees. And I was like, this feels like a really weird, probably not purposeful, like visual cue to the fact that he tried to hang himself a couple seasons ago. It
feels 100% purposeful. And it makes no sense to me because they subvert it within moments of me assuming what the hell? He's dead right now?
I'm so glad I was not there because I was sort of like, what is happening? Why are we seeing his knees? But literally it's like seconds and he literally looks right at Karofsky and just like, what's going on? Not like, oh my God. So it's like, why would you do that?
No,
I don't know. It feels, words today are a problem.
Knowing that the character attempted suicide makes that feel even less purposeful. I honestly do not. Okay. I know this is your show and everything, but Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk, like burnt out a long time ago. They're great. They were great writers, but I don't know what is happening. Since 2015, apparently they have just been kind of running on fumes. They should just be producing at this point. I really don't need their grubby little Cheeto fingers writing at this point.
I think either Brad Falchuk or Ian Brennan wrote this.
It feels like a bad cinematography decision.
That's what I'm thinking, but I was just like, even if it's not purposeful, it's a weird visual cue that I picked up on. I
do think, that the writing at this point is just so bad and not even like fun. We've gone full fanfic, time travel and Riverdale bad. Like it's just
bad.
Yeah, it's just bad. Like, because it's not, I can deal with crazy wild shit as long as it's happening to characters I care about, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you watch American Horror Stories or the last season of American Horror Story?
No.
What is happening over there? Okay. I should do that for my podcast.
I literally could not do it after Freak Show. I watched Freak Show live when I was in college and I was literally like, this is terrible. So I just couldn't do it anymore.
I did 1984. I did every episode for the podcast, and that was a trip. Not an enjoyable one either, but I made it. I got through every episode.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I got us off track.
I mean, yeah, no, it's just, yeah. So then Krusty's just like, oh my God. And they like run in and there's like a bear cub on their bed.
Well, okay, so what the
Which they
fuck
didn't
was...
have when Brittany...
I think it's not a bear cub. I think it's a full-grown bear.
But
yeah,
why wouldn't he say there's a literal bear in our apartment, not an intruder?
Someone
like,
broke in. Maybe
yeah.
they live in like a cartoon universe. Like in their mind,
where
like,
bears are also people.
Yeah. It's like a reverse Goldilocks.
I love his sheets and pillows. I said to my husband, yeah, when I was watching it, I was like, I want those pillows. Those are actually really cute.
Well, so the last episode, we find out that Brittany decorated their apartment, but she didn't give them a bed because she imagined, that's not how she imagined them having sex. It was a moped mounting a...
No, it was like a big rig mounting a moped or something like that.
Something very
Good Lord.
awful.
She didn't, she's like, I
bad.
can't picture you guys having sex, is sort of what she says. It's like, oh, that's offensive.
That's awful. I would stop talking to you. So they're all there. There's the bear. I'm like, why didn't Krusty just call animal control, like, and then call Blaine? Like, first call animal control, then call Blaine. And why did Blaine's ex and high school classmate drive 20 minutes? I just get, they probably live 20 minutes away to the house to run in and be like, oh my God, it's a bear.
Yeah, no one should be in that apartment. He shouldn't have let them go into the apartment. He should have evacuated the apartment.
Yeah, he shouldn't be in there.
Because,
bears are dangerous.
Bears are dangerous. They're not like, they don't just attack people, but like that is a prime situation where you could get attacked.
Yeah.
Also very easy to know where a bear is at any given moment, but he's standing up on a table like it's a mouse or a cockroach, and he's like, I don't know where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could lock the door and keep it at bay for at least a little bit.
Bears hate doors.
Yeah, they're like so confused by the knob. They can't do it. They don't have thumbs.
So then Kurt's like, Sue, you did that. That was bad. And she's like, I had on good authority that Krusty likes bears. And he's like, it's a burly gay man. And she's like, I don't know what's normal. Because Sue Will inserted a plexiglass board into the pool so he could literally walk on water to propose to his girlfriend.
Which is a bad example of like, oh man, you people are so crazy these days. A invisible platform in water? Of course I would escalate that to a violent animal in a bedroom.
Yeah, actually, at first I thought,
a good example.
Well, I thought she was going to start talking about things that she's done that are obviously crazy, but nobody has called out. So I think that would have been like a kind of a better, more meta writing move. You're already going in that direction anyway.
Like the fact that she married herself.
I was just going to say, and then divorced herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been better. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, Kurt is moving. Okay. No, I think there's 2 breadstick scenes in this Blurt storyline.
So much breadsticks.
There's 3 in this episode. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Krusty and Blaine are like getting food at breadsticks, just talking about how weird that is, or weird it was. And then they eventually, essentially all of Krusty's exes are there, like essentially everyone he's ever dated.
Like, oh my God, is that David Karofsky?
But then you find out that Sue invited them all, which then why were they surprised?
Yeah, how did they not see him when he walked in the door? It's just
as somebody who's walked into a room and just seen like an ocean of bears, you notice it right away. It's not like something that sneaks up on you. It's something that you just go like, what is it, bear night at this bar tonight? What is going on?
Yeah. And then also like if these people live in town, he would also like recognize them. But also they would recognize him because he's like the reason they're there.
Yeah.
So
what state does this take place in? Ohio?
Ohio.
Wow, Ohio, the bear capital of the world.
Yes, seriously, Lima, Ohio, bear capital of the world. Yeah, it's just so weird. It's like all of a sudden they notice him when it's convenient. I don't know.
And then, because then Blade later says, like, Kowalski turns out he dated every guy with facial hair in the Midwest.
Dated.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
And I'm
Nobody
like,
dates that many people. And I even said out loud to my husband, I was like, he dated that many guys and it literally didn't work out with that many guys. What are his standards? And my husband had to go, Kyle, dated. Oh, okay.
They fucked.
Which makes a lot more sense, honestly, of like, hey, oh my God, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
But like Blaine is kind of like, oh my God, he dated all these people. And I get that these characters are like 19, 20 and they're like young and immature, but like the show doesn't really challenge that. So it's kind of like, yeah, okay, Kowalski like came out and he dated a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like there aren't a ton of options.
There's a lot of slut shaming in this episode.
Yeah.
Or
That's
not slut
Glee.
shaming, sorry, kink shaming. There's a lot of kink shaming in this episode.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
God forbid somebody have a sexual life.
Yeah. You know, we did kink shame Blaine though for the puppet thing and for
The puppet
Still
thing was a
deserved.
kink?
Still deserved.
Well, because he was like, okay, so some context is his classmate Tina had a crush on him when he was passed out with cold medicine. She straddled him and rubbed Vapo rub on his chest.
Oh.
And then he was like role playing that with the puppets and she like caught him doing that. So that's where we get, okay, it was sexual. And then
And also, how did he even find out about that?
yeah.
Was he awake the whole time and just let her do it?
Well, I think she told Kurt and Kurt must have told him.
Okay, if you say
Maybe.
so.
And then we got when him and Kurt were talking about birds, and he's like, must be all the bird talk, but I'm like feeling a sort of kind of way. So we have kink shamed Blaine before. Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he dated all these guys. It's like, what is he supposed to do? Like be together forever with his high school boyfriend? Oh, I guess that's what you think is normal and appropriate behavior in this show.
When does the ancestry thing come in?
So Sue comes in the same scene and is like, hey, I took the liberty inviting everyone Kowalski ever dated here.
Right.
Also, I did some digging on Ancestry.com, got your DNA and some government records because
She plucked their hair or something
from their washing machine. And she's like, you are descended from this guy, clockmaker in Philadelphia, Thomas Anderson or something. I'm like, that sounds like the star of a whimsical musical. And they are third cousins. And she's like, you're about to have sex with a relative. And I'm like, it was good enough for the peasants, good enough for me, baby. No, I would not have sex with a relative. But
was she lying? Is that even true?
We don't know yet.
We don't know.
Okay.
And I don't think,
Technically.
I'm pretty sure this is like Kowalski's last appearance.
Are you serious? They don't even tell us.
Yeah, and especially
Okay.
because they live together. Like, what are they, like, they have a lease. Like, how is this working?
Well, they can become roommates.
Oh my God, they were roommates.
I mean, if they're already living together, you know that they're already having sex. So what's the big deal?
yeah, like you've already fucked.
Yeah.
All the bears in town.
Yeah, but it's also
And Blaine.
they were so if you look at that map, they were so distantly related that like they wouldn't have like ever run into each other at any kind of family reunion, like any, you know.
Yeah.
No, we could be third cousins for all I know.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
and I don't remember if I said this when we were recording. I don't know if I did, but like, again, this probably happens a lot more than we think.
Yeah.
Because if you grew up in a small town, if your family was there, you probably hooked up with a third or fourth cousin. And you know what? Oops. Or you'll never find out and it's fine. I don't know.
Again, people married their cousins fairly regularly for a long time. I'm not saying it's okay or I would ever want to, but I'm just saying you'd have to do it a lot for it to have the genetic problems that we associate with it.
Generations upon generations.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
marrying your third cousin, especially, you know, as men who aren't going to biologically reproduce, your third
Yeah.
cousin who you never knew, like grow like in a familial way, Like, and I think they're like third cousin something removed. I don't think they're direct third cousin. Like, it would be like, I get that would be icky, but if I had already been like living with someone, like we had passed that stage, you know, like that'd be, if you found that out on a first date, maybe you'd call it, but like you have a lease, you have a legally binding document together.
Yeah.
So they, whatever. So then they're talking about being friends, Kurt and Blaine, and Blaine's like, yeah, like he dated all these people and we're like related, so it's kind of icky or whatever. And Kurt's like, yeah, I have a date with this guy named Walter.
Okay, immediately an old man named Walter. Is either that or literally like the guy from Breaking Bad.
Who's also kind of an old man.
An old man or an old man who's also a drug peddler.
You don't meet many like young pieces of ass named Walter. They just don't call themselves that. They call themselves, I don't even think like what's the coolest way you could like jazz that up? Wally, Walt, they're all terrible.
That person, if your first name's Walter and you're our age, you go by your middle name.
Exactly.
So he goes to, Breadsticks, the one restaurant here. And the man shows up and he's kind of like, well, first, Kurt, notoriously rude to wait staff. The guy comes up and he's like, oh, this is what I want. This is my order or whatever. Like, I want some water, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you go to this restaurant, you know what uniform the people wear.
They literally wear all black like they do at Olive Garden. Like, he's so rude.
And then the man,
that's a bad mistake.
The man sits down and you know what? He catfished Kurt. I know it was a younger picture, but like if it's over a decade old, baby, like that'd be like me posting pictures of when I was 17 on like a dating profile.
Well, it's also like he was like, well, I feel that age. It's like, that doesn't matter, sir. I'm sorry.
That is such a red flag when he says that.
Yeah, right?
Like, honestly, it's okay if you own it, if you're 50 and you just own it and you go, yeah, I'm dating 30-year-old and I'm a 50-year-old. And what are you going to do if you don't like
He's
it?
He's a good-looking dude.
Yeah,
it's Harry Hamlin.
There are lots of people that would date that man, like with that picture,
But he says, oh, but I feel 30. No. That is a red flag. Head for the hills.
Yeah. So then that's what I mean. Like Walter's definitely in the wrong, but he sits down and Kurt, instead of being like, hey, like you don't really look like you're, he's just kind of like, how old are you? Like straight off the bat. Which is also like a very
I'm 50 years old.
I was like, what a dad thing to do.
Also, what a Kurt thing to do is to be so audacious.
If I was in Kurt's position, if I was catfished by someone who was obviously much older and like in shock that they actually sat down and were going to start this conversation with me and feel like, I'd be asked, how old are you? Because if I don't like the answer, I'm going to leave, except he doesn't do that.
I do think you're right, Alyssa. And I'm thinking like in a normal social situation, just someone being like, how old are you is like a very rude question.
With no context.
That's kind of supposed to be. It's supposed to send a message that you have done a wrong. You kind of knew it. You knew that this question was part of the risk you're taking. Here we are.
Yeah, like what does he expect to sit down and Kurt just being like, oh, you're starting to use just for men like slightly gray. That's cool. No.
And so so Kurt, he's like, I'm married, or I was married for 33 years. I have children your age.
Your age.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Second red flag. That means this date has intent.
This may have been saved if he's like, listen, I used that photo because like I never got to do this when I was younger. If it kind of started from a place like that where like I had to come out late in life, etc., that may be different.
It's like you bought yourself 5 minutes. Like
yes, exactly.
But like,
so he just comes in real weird.
Yeah, and he just throws that all out there. Which here's the thing: I get doing that, but don't like wait till we meet in person and then throw it all out there.
Kurt says that they talked on the phone. How did he think that voice was anything younger than 50? That's a dumb line.
Yeah, I mean,
talked on the phone. I guess it's 2015.
But also like FaceTime was a thing. Like they could have like FaceTime.
I was in a relationship in 2015. Yeah, we were FaceTiming and
so it's like I feel like that's also super normal to be like, hey, like you want to do a FaceTime. But now that could be a red flag if he was like, no, I'd rather just meet in person, or I just want to, no.
This was the golden age of Snapchat.
Yeah. And if he was that young, he would have actually been using Snapchat. So the fact that he probably wasn't, again. But
Kurt is way too patient with this guy, because I get it's a two-parter. This is probably going to fizzle out in some hilarious way in the part 2 conclusion.
Or they just never talk about it.
Or it's a true crime episode in the making.
At the end, he says like, oh, why don't we just take it really slow? And if either one of us gets uncomfortable, we call it a day. And Kurt's like, yeah, that sounds good to me. And it's like,
too late. He's already uncomfortable.
Well, I'm uncomfortable, so no.
I was laughing my ass off because the whole scene just drips of wish fulfillment that Ryan Murphy is Harry Hamlin, and he just wishes he could pull down some 20-year-old chotch.
Yeah, no, I do think I saw that and I was like, this was written by older, like, gay men. Like, that's what I got immediately.
Because I don't think any younger person would have been okay with that.
Because they're not even open to it. It's just like, no, okay, this was a mistake. It's like getting in an accident with somebody.
Like the daddy fantasy is alive and well, but the people who want that, like, are looking for that. They're not looking for someone to pretend they're young and then reveal that they're older.
Right.
Yeah. And I also don't know how he was going to come back from I have kids your age. Oh, God.
And I think the wish fulfillment thing, like, hits it right on the head.
And yet it's one of the most entertaining scenes of the entire episode. Like, I wish kind of it was more, because at least it makes more sense than Sue having the impossible resources to invite 30 people at the drop of a hat to a restaurant.
Putting 30 bears in a restaurant and then a bear in someone's apartment.
And then also stealing someone's DNA.
Yeah.
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 She's got like Wile E. Coyote's resources.
Acme button just constantly.
That's really the we don't really get resolution. We have some wild things to come next week in regards to the Blurt storyline.
Oh boy.
Great.
I have 2 words. Saw doll.
Oh, a puppet.
Mayhaps. So, okay, let's talk about, I guess, the Will bullshit. Like, she's gonna destroy Will. And so again. And so Rachel is trying to convince Will to go easy on them in this invitational, which I guess
Sue sets up.
Sue sets up the invitational.
And that's the thing is, like, I get where she's coming from, like, emotionally, like, hey, these kids aren't ready. But you can't really ask someone to do that. Like, that just doesn't make any sense.
Rachel asking Will to throw the invitational.
I mean, her point is good because it's exactly what Will would react to. Like, hey, you used to be in my position and, these are my kids now. Like, how would you feel? Like, she does a really good job of it. I don't think it's like a Rachel whining thing. Like, I think it is something that is actually logical for both of them. But I mean, it's totally like, that's like, uncalled for.
It's like unprofessional, but she's also not professional.
She's never been professional. But like, I get he could be like, oh, we're going to do new songs, like not our traditional set list. We're going to try something new, which he does, but like, there's a normal way to do it of like, oh, this is a practice. Let's practice. Like, let's do something we don't usually do because it's just a practice. It's just for fun,
Right.
Like, he's very needlessly condescending to his own group when he like drops a new song on them and he goes, oh, it's dancing as fast as you can. It's improv. What?
I love these kids so much. Like, I mean, these 40-year-old adults, but I love them so much.
But he like touches this one guy's shoulder. He's like, don't touch me.
Yep. And then some guy in the back was like, we don't like you.
I know, I've laughed so hard at that.
That was so good.
Because again, he is crazy to them. And then at one point he's like trying to do the show circle, which apparently he has not done in a practice before. I'm like, how? And they're just kind of like,
How are they supposed to know? Yeah.
They literally like they can probably run this club themselves. They just have him because they need him just as a body. Like they need a person to put the stuff together, I guess.
So I was kind of.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say I was kind of confused because I've been out of the zeitgeist, but like, what was the main a cappella group called in the first like season of Glee? Because there's New Directions and then there's Vocal Adrenaline. Right?
That's these guys.
Yeah.
They're the initial antagonists. Jonathan Groff, the erotic Jesse St. James.
Miss him.
Okay.
He was the lead. I'm just gonna say you don't have to miss him for long, Hannah.
I know.
And so they were the antagonists. Then we got Throat Explosion, my favorite gay porn. And then who else? There were the one with this small Asian girl who sang Clarity.
But they're all gone. The only survivors right now are New Directions and Vocal Adrenaline.
Yeah, so like they used to do sectionals with other schools, right?
Yeah.
Or was it regionals?
They're both terrible
sectionals.
names, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The New Directions. Yeah. Now they're in. Yeah. Now I guess the districting is narrative based. It's supposed to be
gerrymandered. It's just these three schools.
Yeah. It's the Warblers, again, a private school in this public league.
It's also endlessly frustrating that they try to equate themselves with a cappella when they're singing with musical backing constantly, but I'm sure you've already talked about that to death.
Well, is this technically supposed to be you're talking about
the Warblers?
No, Vocal Adrenaline, they're not.
Vocal Adrenaline's not.
The Warblers have been a cappella, but I feel like there are a lot of numbers where they're not a cappella.
It's basically just like America's Got Talent with the kinds of like performances that they're doing. And then, they also happen to be singing on top of it.
Well,
Vocal Adrenaline's wild.
The Vocal Adrenaline performances, unless they involve Jonathan Groff, those ones seemed a little more real in that like they tend to just be like, oh yes, these are a bunch of dancers lip syncing.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. Because you would not be able to like sing that way.
No way.
Like dancing and moving like that, like your voice wouldn't project.
Maybe Beyonce could.
Right. Who's been doing it for years and years. These kids are between the ages of, they're supposed to be 16 to 18, but they're probably, 20 to 28.
But like the thing is, dance breaks in songs and musicals, they exist for a reason. It's because it is hard to sing and dance heavily at the same time.
Yeah.
I just always felt kind of, frustrated / insulted that these TV characters are supposed to be, so talented because they're doing all of this choreography while singing with a band. And I did all of that shit without a band, and nobody's making a show apparently about that.
And like a show choir, it's supposed to be more about the choir part. Yeah. So it's like, with all the dancing, you're going to take away from that. So yeah, it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
Do you remember,
shocker.
Do you remember that one Warblers villain? I can't remember his name. The one who wasn't even vicarious.
Sebastian Smythe. No. Hunter.
Sebastian Smythe.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the Flash.
It's the one who had the cat, right? That's who you're talking about.
Hunter.
I still remember when he sang "Whistle." Definitely an appropriate song, and he like did a full backflip, landed, and sang the high note.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
But it was revealed he was on steroids, but I don't think even steroids can get you to do that. So
I can never tell if the things you're saying are in the canon of the story, or
I'm
if
just
it
gonna
really
start
happened
making
in real life.
Random references to things, and you guys just gotta play along so you think that it was actually happening in Glee.
And I'll just go, oh, okay, so he had steroids in real life. That's interesting.
So this drone, Sue has this drone that's flying around. This obvious fucking drone.
It's loud.
Huge. It is loud. And it's just zooming around this quiet auditorium, just filming them. No, they don't notice.
Nope.
So loud.
Literally everyone in the hallway runs screaming from a drone.
Yeah, that's the thing is
How would they not notice?
And it's probably like maybe 5-6 feet away from them. You're gonna hear just like you're gonna hear it. Mm-hmm. It's just these people are so obtuse.
There was a broken window on one of the stories of my building, it's the 7th story. And I was like, honestly, I blame an influencer. The influencer was probably flying a drone around, trying to get their LA aesthetic. And cause property damage, casual. So then, so Sue is like filming them, and then she shows that to the principal, who is Principal Figgins' sister.
We find out that Principal Figgins' first name is Principal.
Which doesn't even make sense.
She's like, well, I think it's like a family thing where like they all are in some sort of like educational administration, and because he's firstborn, he got the name Principal. So I would assume that her name would be like honestly, vice principal or like it was secretary.
I thought it was a dig at Indian culture. I'm gonna be honest. I thought they were trying to say like, oh, he's the first son, he'd be named Principal.
Oh, maybe. I just got it as like they were trying to cram too many jokes at the same time. Like it's funny enough that what's his name? It's funny enough that the principal what's his name?
Iqbal Thiba.
Yeah, it's funny enough that Iqbal Thiba is wearing a wig and playing
and
the principal's sister. But then on top of that, we're going to like try to cram in that the principal's first name is Principal, and how funny it is that they both went into education. And it's like, how am I supposed to appreciate any one of these jokes when you're trying to cram four of them down my throat at the same time? Once again, just bad writing. I'm really sorry.
Well, it's such bad writing.
That joke falls flat. I was trying to deconstruct that joke because it threw me off so much. I was like, wait, wouldn't his name tag have been like Principal Figgins or something? It just doesn't make sense.
Offensive for the students to call him Principal Figgins because that's actually his first name?
I feel like there's been other shows that have managed to pull off a similar joke. Yeah. I can't think of it right now, but
it's also something that would happen like a cartoon, I think. Yeah. Like this is a real life cartoon, but I don't know.
It's like my Irish dance teacher, his name was Mr. O'Hare, and his wife who taught the younger kids.
His first name is Mr.
I called her Mrs. Strohair because I used to Mr. Strohair, Mr. O'Hare, Mr. Strohair. I was like 3 or 4. So I'd be like,
cute.
Yeah. So she's upset that Will is going to throw this invitational because they take vocal adrenaline very seriously. Also, we do see Figgins scraping gum off seats and is like, blame the parents for not controlling their kids. And I'm like, fair.
So he's janitor Principal Figgins.
Yes. Also barista Principal Figgins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not a good joke.
No.
It's just not.
So then what else is going on in this? I feel like there's something else I feel like there's a scene with Will I'm missing. It's just like it's all just meaningless noise. So it's so hard to follow like a story arc mentally because it's just like weird shit happening because there is the thing Sam is going through Will's bills. Because Sue is hypnotized him, and we'll get to that. But Sam is saying that like, oh,
Rachel told him to do it to commit a felony.
To take his mail so he wouldn't pay his bills because online bill pay did not exist in 2015. So he would be harassed by loan sharks and couldn't focus on the competition. She'd do anything to win. Instead of calling the police, Will's just like, get out of here. And then he's mad, so he's like, I'm not gonna throw this competition. We're gonna beat them. And so they do.
Instead of talking to Rachel and be like, so Sam was at my house stealing my mail. Do you have anything to do with that? Nope, none of those kind of conversations happen.
They rely on the classic writing trope of none of these characters will communicate. They won't communicate until they've really ruined things for everyone.
That's such a bad decision though, because if you have good communication, but bad understanding, that makes much better comedy.
Didn't like 2 episodes ago, didn't they as a group decide that they weren't going to do any shenanigans to
Yes, they did.
And then they're doing shenanigans but it's not even like Sue is doing the shenanigans and they're not like, hey, this is weird. Like we all kind of decided. I don't know what's going on. All I have to say is that Sue commutes 2.5 hours back and forth to Carmel High School, which is in Akron, to Lima, Ohio. And Blaine commutes 2 hours from the Columbus area to Lima. So
good Lord.
Just gotta throw some geography back in there.
Do we know what Karofsky's doing? Maybe they have their apartment Maybe
it's sort of in between
near the warblers. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Don't know.
But Rachel and Kurt drove all that way to see the bear.
Yeah.
And not the Hulu show or whatever platform the bear is on. Brief hint about the bear. Everyone's talking about this show, and apparently it's about like a restaurant guy, but like I hear a show called The Bear, and I'm like, oh, a show about a burly gay man.
I pictured a bear, like a bear.
And then I'm
it's
like,
it is actually a good show.
Yeah, I've heard
it's
good
on
things.
Hulu. Yeah.
So then the Vocal Adrenaline does the most boring, soulless covers of Rock Lobster and Whip It. Becky is watching in a lobster suit.
I can't believe you called them boring because I was enthralled. I was like, what am I watching? This is the part where I text you guys. Let me read this text. Let me read it. It's very important. I said, where are we? Guys, I think my coffee was spiked with mushrooms, acid, and heroin because I think I hallucinated this episode of Glee. It's terrifying.
I read that text. I read the text, the first half of the text, and I was like, oh my God, is she okay? Who spiked her? Oh, wait.
So, I was just so enthralled by what I was watching, and not in a good way. I cannot say it was boring.
I would agree. Again, as somebody who did a cappella, the idea of doing Rock Lobster or any Fred Savage song where he's talk singing the entire time would only work if you lean into how absurd this is, that we chose a song that has so little musicality in it. It's such a silly, ridiculous song, but they're doing it so straight-faced, and everyone in the audience is like, oh, they're so good. What are we going to do? And it's like, what the hell?
That's not the right reaction.
They picked the joke song. Well, and then they follow it up with a song that I thought to myself, I kind of like had a moment like, shit, Whip It is actually a great a cappella song. That would have been a good one for my group to do back in the day.
Yeah, but the thing, it's like the numbers are all about like costumes and choreography. There's no heart. There's no emotion. You don't get that the songs speak to these kids, which is kind of Vocal Adrenaline's thing, is they just like go out and do a banger number. But they're all like, and it's like, you could beat that. Because there's like, it's so soulless. It's so just like, it's so dancers lip syncing, I guess. You know, like that's just the point.
I mean, it's like extremely like high class cookie cutter.
Am I to understand that Rock Lobster and Whip It are the songs that Shu pushed on them at the last minute and they learned?
That's a good question. I actually was wondering if they went back to their original songs or if these are the ones they mastered in that day.
Yeah.
So
I thought they went back to the originals.
I think they went back to the originals because they knew the choreography.
The fact that we can't tell is very frustrating.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know what's happening here.
I would have loved if he had given them some Marley Rose originals and they'd be like, what the fuck is All or Nothing?
And I thought the Devo skirts were very clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Devo from Akron, Ohio, which is where Carmel High School is set. It's 2.5 hours from Lima, Ohio.
Oh my God, that was a fun fact.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also these costumes. This is an invitational.
Yeah, they're tryhards. Fuck them.
Yeah, and so even the warblers are like, fuck.
Yeah.
There's one of the warblers is crying. I felt bad for that random no-name warbler.
And so,
like the most emotion that I felt the entire episode was my empathy for this warbler.
And so we will, that's where the episode ends. We have to talk about Sam Chul still, but...
it's not a good ship name.
Ram.
They're both bad, so I mean, that shows that, like, the relationship sucks, too.
So yeah, that's the end of the episode. That's the end of Hurt Locker Part 1. But okay, let's talk about... So Sam is folding towels, you know, for once not jock straps in the locker room. And then Sue comes in and is like, how easily suggestible are you? And he's like, I don't know. How suggestible do you think I am?
That was funny.
The funniest scene, honestly.
Yes,
like in the whole
that
episode.
is the funniest part.
He's got great comedic timing, and the little zoom in that they do on his lines is also very funny. The warping of the hypnotism, great scene.
Cord has really been carrying this show for a while at this point.
Yeah.
Honestly, kind of since season 4. He's been a heavy lifter of the emotion, like of the comedy and the emotion. Yeah, so he is like there, she hypnotizes him, and she's like, the moment you hear the song, either the phrases "let's do a song," "piano," or "flatbed truck," you will fall madly in love with Rachel Berry, and the moment you kiss, you will forget.
Wait a second, it was any of them? I thought it was supposed to be all three.
I thought it was supposed to be all
did too.
three. I did too, but
I think it was supposed to. I think it was supposed to be all three. I was like, where's flatbed truck?
Yeah, exactly. I was
like, how's that going to become a conversation with Rachel Berry?
Did they just mess it up that badly? Did they just mess up the writing that badly?
It was very confusing.
Surprised?
No, well, no, we're not.
This was a one draft. This was a one final draft. There were typos. Like, they did not go back.
I was like, oh shit, where's that draft? We got to turn it in quick. Where is it? Just whatever you got, just turn it in.
Again, I think Cord is improvising all his lines.
Yeah, I thought the Hurt Locker, immediately I thought like, oh, this is going to be, there's going to be like references to the movie. And I was like, should I watch the movie so I know if there's references? And I was like, no, that's going to take too long. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but, and then I was like, wait a second, is it literally just gonna be reference to the movie? And then I looked up and like, apparently it's like an actual phrase. Didn't know that.
Really?
It's literally just, hold on, I had it pulled up.
But did the phrase exist before the movie?
Yeah, so Hurt Locker is a slang term for a place of deep pain and discomfort.
Oh. Okay.
And apparently,
McKinley High School.
It was also used. It's a slang for severe injury in the military. So, I don't understand what this has to do with that. We were just doing a little etymology lesson. Hurt Locker is actually a slang term from the military to mean like a serious, severe injury, or it's also a place of deep pain and discomfort. Oh. So I feel like it's very misused in this
nothing.
No, maybe title. They might have just been like speaking about the audience to the audience.
He's like, you're going to feel such intense pain that you're going to need a personal injury lawyer.
That's so funny. I saw the Hurt Locker, and at no point did I think to like question the title of the movie and look up what it has to do. I don't know why in my head until literally 2 seconds ago when you told me what it actually means. I was like, oh, the Hurt Locker, it refers to bombs in the army, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I just was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense for the title for that movie. Nope, it actually was a thing. So yeah, misused for this episode for sure.
Really funny.
Yeah, so Sam and Rachel are just, see, here's the thing. This doesn't relate to them being hypnotized. They just happen to be at breadsticks together.
Right? That's what I thought too. I was like, why are you guys hanging out? Like,
on a date. It's very much a date, but they're like, oh, this is
it's not a date.
It's not a date.
If they were going at I guess Breadsticks is the only restaurant, but because we see so many dates at it, like I could see, maybe they like got a drink, or I mean, are they old enough to drink? I mean, they were at a club after Rachel's Broadway premiere.
This is true. Like the equivalent of them going to like Fazoli's. Just it like downgrades from Olive Garden. You just have to like put the breadsticks at whatever level they're talking about in the scene. So this is the Fazoli's.
Okay, quick question. Cullen, do you know what a Fazoli's is?
No.
What?
Alyssa. You don't know? No, I only found out about it when I moved to Indiana, and I'm appalled by this idea. It's basically drive-through Italian food.
It is.
Oh my God.
And so that's, but apparently it's a Midwest thing, but only in very certain parts. Like I think it's like Western Ohio and Indiana.
Michigan. It's in Michigan.
Parts of Michigan.
That is an insult to the Italian X community.
I was gonna say, if they
Yes,
can
it
serve
is.
me
I'm
Italian
offended.
food that quickly, it can't be good.
No, it's just gonna be ketchup on
However,
noodles.
Listen, the Fazoli's breadsticks are the best breadsticks I've ever had, hands down. And at the time I was there, which was a long time ago, this might have changed, they were limitless.
Oh, you've been put on notice, Olive Garden.
All right. Watch me
Anyway.
writing down make Fazoli's meme.
But it is funny. He says this one throwaway line that I was like, "What?" Well, I want to know more about that. Where he says, "Like, oh, Blaine can teach us piano. He owes me for all the times I shaved his back in New York." I was like, "What?"
So Blaine and Sam are best
I totally
friends.
missed that.
They are best. They're the
Well, they
closest thing
were.
this show has to a real friendship.
Yeah.
Oh, totally platonic. Got it.
Well,
Well,
there was Blaine had a crush on Sam, and Sam kind of knew.
At the
And
same time
eventu-
that Tina had a crush on Blaine.
Yeah. And then they all kind of talked about it. And
then Tina and Sam made out.
Tina and Sam made out. And Sam was
so
all
weird.
like, it's okay that you have a crush on me. Like, we're still best friends. And they hugged, and Blaine had breath mints in his pocket, and Sam asked if they were a boner.
Okay.
But now I don't think they hang out.
Well, in New York, they were like besties. They lived together.
Yeah.
I mean, Blaine
He
used to
shaved his
read.
back.
Yeah, Blaine used to read Sam Star Wars fan fiction to get him to go to sleep.
That's true. Because Blaine is also his mom.
Yeah. So that's the thing, is it is very weird when you just come in, because the show isn't really acting like they're friends, but they are actually like the most consistent
Yeah.
friendship on this show, which isn't great by normal standards, but by Glee standards. Yeah.
That's really weird because they barely speak to each other in this episode.
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
They haven't talked in
season,
a long time.
this season has mainly been like they were together when they were making Rachel watch her terrible show. And then when Blaine wasn't using hair gel, Sam didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
But I mean, if
Anyway.
if he was shaving his back, I'm sure he's seen him ungelled.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knows what else he's shaved?
I don't know.
I mean, he's already doing it, you know.
The
at
razor's
that
already
point,
dirty.
Yeah.
Might as well
So
get the job done.
I'm logging into AO3 right now. Okay, so Sam is she's like, yeah, Blaine can teach us piano. Forgetting the fact that Blaine was just mad at Rachel because of the Jane thing. Because
Yeah.
Jane switched schools.
But does he bring it up or does Rachel bring it up? She's like, oh, I should learn to play piano, right?
Well, he's like, what do you want to do? Like, what are your hobbies? And Rachel's like, I cry and I watch Patti LuPone's masterclass.
How
And
does she
then-
not know how to play piano?
That's what I don't understand is
Because
like,
she wrote my
We find out-
headband.
yeah.
We find out later that she took piano, but she quit piano.
She got bored.
Yeah, which I'm not going to lie, I find piano very boring. So I also quit piano.
I did quit. I never had formal lessons, but I did almost be able to play the song I Wonder from Sleeping Beauty.
Aw.
I took piano for like 7 to 9 years.
Wow. I
Don't
did not know
know
that.
it's
Yeah, I'd get bored after 9 years too.
Yeah, it was not a good life decision. But I was also like 10.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I'm really gonna hold you responsible for that.
That
you
was
know?
really your
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
I love how
Yeah.
we enter the scene of Blaine teaching the piano by him just showing off. Apparently, he's just finishing off playing the entirety of Beethoven's Fifth. Like that's helpful
Yeah.
for us to
Yep.
learn.
Oh,
Like what an
also,
arrogant teacher.
Really quick, can we just, for a brief moment, pause on the fact that Sam's hobby is glass blowing?
Oh, yeah.
What a great hobby.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Sam is living the most fulfilled life of any
He
Glee
is.
club.
He really is.
He's just doing it because
He
he
was
likes
homeless
it.
at one point. He has like the most well-adjusted life.
He
Like, good
does.
for him.
Yeah, he's blowing glass. And
Once again, the character was homeless.
The character was
You think
homeless.
the character was homeless?
Because
Yes.
the guy is like the son of Nashville singer-songwriters, so I'd hope he was never homeless.
No. Yeah, he was, but didn't they, he said I blow, right? Glass. Like it was phrased like that, I'm pretty sure.
Was it?
Because they were
I
trying
don't remember.
because
And he goes like, my point is we need to be proactive about what our outside interests are, and that doesn't mean anything.
that doesn't no, but basically everything Sam says is often a sexual euphemism. Like that I want to
Okay.
send
Right.
her to
I mean, when you
Uranus.
look like that, everything that comes out of your mouth is going to be a sexual euphemism to somebody. That's just a curse you bear.
So yeah, he blows glass, and Rachel's like, "Really?" Like she's so shocked, and I'm like, "I mean, you were barely ever friends, so like, how do you know?" Okay, but
Yeah,
anyways,
this is the third time you're speaking.
and the second time was when you're oiling up his semi-nude body for a photo shoot in your apartment.
I love when Blaine says Middle C, you think of it as a quaint little town between bass clef land and treble clef land. It's so like demeaning.
Yeah, it's like he's teaching 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
because Blaine hates Rachel.
And yet she
at
still
this
says,
point.
can you slow down, please?
Well, I mean, she can't read in real life, so
True.
that was just Leah Michelle being like, "Wait a second, what's a C?"
So yeah, he's teaching them how to play, and he's being condescending. And Rachel says, she does the whole "I got bored" thing, and Blaine's like, "That's so unlike you," and it's
Yeah.
because she got bored on Broadway and quit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Blaine's being a sassy gay bitch, and you know what? I'm here for it. And
Being
so,
a bitch.
oh yeah, Sue. I can't even remember what spurs this number. She's just like being mean to Rachel, and is like, Rachel's like, "Why are you like this?" And she's like, "I'm a bitch. I'm like
I'm a
it's
child. I'm a
I'm a mother, I'm a sinner, I'm a saint.
And that's
It's such a
really-
good song.
all the motivation behind the number. Is it's just
She's like
Sue
in lockers.
in
She's
drawers.
she's in a
Her
drawer.
head is in a drawer, which Rachel sees.
Yeah.
And then is like, okay, that's fine. There's
Weird.
a head singing at me
Fantasy
from a
land.
drawer.
which I thought maybe was like a reference to the music video. It's not. Meredith Brooks never shows up inside of things. It's very bizarre.
And then she's moving Emma's stuff around. She's
And
like,
just throwing children into lockers.
which is the classic of her. She's like comes in with a baseball bat and is like hitting the planets. And I'm like, this woman would go to jail.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the
if-
thing is the scene comes off very strange because all the students like panic and like are crouched down and running out of the classroom, and it does not feel very funny.
And this was at a school where there was a school shooting like a year or two ago.
Again,
and
in real
Sue-
life or
in the show,
That's
in the show, in
a
the show,
sort
and
of school shooting.
And Sue
Jesus.
Yeah.
pretended to be the person behind it to
A
cover for
gun
Becky.
went off in the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that
You
was
know-
their way of doing a school shooting episode.
yeah. It
Oh,
was pretty
yeah.
bad. It was
Yeah.
pretty exploitative. One of my coworkers actually went to the high school this was filmed at,
Wow.
and she said they took
Mhm.
things from the choir room for their set. Just like took them. They like recreated the choir room on a set on the Paramount lot, but they just like took items from their choir
That's a lot
room for the
Did
cheaper.
set.
they just stole it?
Yeah, they just stole like props
my
from their
God.
choir.
Listen, schools are already hurting for money. Teachers have to pay for their
That's
own
so
supplies.
dumb.
Ryan Murphy, you owe the teachers of that school.
Yeah.
And she said they were just like casually kind of friends with some of the crew members because they were around all the time filming. Yeah, so they she sings "I'm a bitch," whatever. She interrupts their piano lesson with like she's like
We call them the genie on our theater stage.
yeah, those but so I thought this was gonna be the reason to say flatbed truck.
Right. But then at some point, she gives him new phrases to
No,
hypnotize
she
him.
just says they're just phrases she likes.
Yeah.
Oh.
But we haven't gotten to the point where where he like follows through on the first hypnotism yet.
Yeah, because so Blaine is looking for them later, and she's like, and Figgins is like, they're sharing a warm pretzel with hot mustard. I predict another stormy and sexy Glee romance. And I'm like, why is this adult man calling? I mean, he did say teen lesbians in
the hallway.
Yeah, he did
children.
call them trollops and shit. But I'm like, why are you calling these children's relationships sexy? Whatever. And so then they are gonna do the piano, like they're practicing, and Sam's like, it's easy, just like focus, play it on my hands. We'll do this little meet cute thing. And then
it was creepy. I didn't like it.
They start playing Vanessa Carlton's.
No one learns the piano.
piano.
No one learns the piano that fast. No one.
And
maybe a
just,
genius, but they're not geniuses.
And they're floating around, or like they're recreating scenes from the music video of 1,000 Miles.
They are. Yeah.
I actually really like this cover. I really like the harmonies. I like the
me
duets.
too.
Yeah.
I think it's like good.
It was good.
And the acting in it is solid. Like, even though like we
Didn't pay
have
attention to that.
we have it's just we have the shred, like the bare bones premises of two people interested in each other.
I was slightly distracted by the backgrounds because I was like, oh, I think I've seen that park
Yeah.
in LA.
It's definitely Lima, Ohio for sure.
Yeah.
It's always bizarre to me that I enjoyed the sequence. It was great. But I feel like they never pick songs that have lyrics that apply to anything that's happening in the character's actual lives right now. Like the words of the song, if I could, I would walk 1,000 miles to get to you. Like it's about, traversing a distance to get to someone that I care a great deal about already because of past experiences. And this is, they're singing it as a budding new romance. And, it's fun or whatever, but it's always so strange to me how they pick songs that have absolutely nothing to do, really.
Yeah.
That's why it's like so hard to call these jukebox musicals, because they clearly, it's just a karaoke.
Well, not only that, but like this song like felt like a budding romance, but it's not supposed to be, because Sam is just hypnotized.
Yeah, we know.
That was very confusing because
That's
I thought
we know it's not real.
We
assume it's not real.
At this point, I was confused because I thought it was actually like happening.
Which you'd be totally fair to think.
Yeah.
Like
right.
It's
think
supposed to make us
blurry.
really buy that, like it's happening so that when Rachel, kisses him and the spell's broken, it really like hits that much heavier. It's like, what?
Yeah.
They sang a whole song together and he's just going to forget all of that?
Right. But the thing that really clued me in is in the second part where he has to go get the mail from Shu's mailbox. He makes up an entire story and like that's not really how hypnotism works. So you're not creative or like sort of doing that sort of like living out your life in a very specific manner.
I've never been hypnotized. Have any of you?
I
went through a
not.
hypnotism themed maze at Not Scary Farm.
I feel
That's
like
basically the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
only some people can get hypnotized, apparently.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend bring a hypnotist to it was just like our friends, like he just did a show for us, and he did like almost have my friend eat like chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, and she had celiac, and I'll be like, stop. Because she was like gonna eat the ice cream, and then she was like, oh, it's cookie dough, and he just thought, oh, she doesn't like that. He was like, oh, that's your favorite flavor, and they're like, no, she can't.
Holy crap, I've
Oh
never
my
heard of
God.
that.
She
Holy crap.
almost killed somebody.
man.
You just pitched a fantastic episode of Law and Order.
Yeah, so it's yeah.
So
I
just to
do-
confirm once again, no one here has been hypnotized before?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Because the kind of thing that I was going to say is that, like, I think you have to be kind of just stupid to be hypnotized.
You have to be susceptible to
To stupid things.
the
Suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like Sam. It's like, I don't know, am I?
What I learned from the maze at Not Scary Farm is a hypnotist can't get you to do something you don't already want to do.
Okay. So the
Interesting.
person with celiac obviously wanted to eat things they weren't allowed to.
Yeah.
I get that. Trust me. I understand.
So
But yeah, so I had a completely different thing. Like when I was watching this, I was like, well, this whole thing is a fantasy. And it's a fantasy also because like it's not real. So like because like I just knew that like okay, well Sam is hypnotized, like this is him acting on that. So like it could go either way.
But poor Rachel didn't know.
Poor Rachel didn't know. And this was.
I don't think we've ever said the phrase "poor Rachel." That's
I think we did in the Finn's death episode.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's also funny to watch the sequence where they're literally walking around downtown on their piano, because I definitely recognize some of those streets. It's Whittier. It's Whittier, California. For a second, I thought it was Beverly Hills, but then I realized like it's so funny. There's people in the background. They clearly just filmed this on real streets because everyone in the background has their phone out to film. Leah Michelle on a piano.
I Googled, can Leah Michelle play piano? Because I was like curious,
No way.
And I don't think so. The only thing that came up was literally those sort of like Leah Michelle in Cordova Street on set for Glee doing this piano thing in the streets. And then there was also a reference to the fact that she can't read. So I was like, okay, I think that solves it. She can't read music. She can't read words.
That is so funny. Wow, she actually can't read. You don't have to say that. I'll be the guest. I'm the one here to say that.
So I do really like this cover. I do agree. It is in a show that had a lot of long distance relationships for a couple seasons. It's weird that now is when they're using the song, but I think their voices go really well together.
It's literally because of the piano. That's all we're supposed to associate.
Well, we have a theory that like they have this sort of backlog of songs they wanted to do, but they just didn't have episodes to put them in. And so now it's literally like, I think you're right. It's like karaoke instead of a jukebox musical. So like, we love Vanessa Carlton. Everyone loves this song.
I actually this song was played at my wedding reception in the playlist. There's one of two Glee songs, that and the Somewhere Only We Know. And people were like singing along, like I was like people were taking pictures and other like his cousins were singing along, and in my brain I'm like, they don't know this is the Glee version. But I do really like this song. Though 1,000 Miles was me and my ex-girlfriend's song. But shout out to my ex, #Little Mix. So they they kiss, and then she says that he just left after they kissed.
Yeah, we don't see like the reaction. We don't get to see the fallout, which is a little bit disappointing.
We should see it because we know that's the thing that breaks the spell. We should see his reaction being like, I gotta go. Yeah.
Because Sam, he just made out with Tina. I could see Sam just being like, sure, I'll make out with Rachel.
Yeah. So I feel like we should see that reaction instead of that scene later. Like maybe we can have both of them, but like we need his reaction because literally the spell breaks.
Yeah. What are you trying to describe? That I made out with somebody or I kissed somebody and they literally just stood up and walked away without talking to me.
So,
oh my God.
She comes out, she sees him telling a terrible joke. Oh, earlier he did a John Mayer impression, which Cordova Street did do at his concert that me and Alyssa were present.
So good. He does some funny impressions. Like even if they're not like spot on, like it's still funny.
And so he's telling some weird joke about kissing a hooker to the football players. And
like you do.
And Rachel was like, hey, can I borrow your coach for a moment? Which was very the SNL Bachelor skit, but can I have him for a sec? And she's just like, hey, would you, like, I know, like, we kissed, we could get coffee sometime. And he's all like, we what? And she's like, yeah. Like she backtracks. Like performers, we do things. Of course.
What are we talking about?
I love this line. Yeah, where she's like, oh, theater people do things that, they don't really count for normal people. Just, cheating isn't really the same when you're in the theater.
Yeah, you're just expressing your emotions, whatever.
It's just chemistry. That doesn't mean anything. I was only in him for like 2 minutes.
And so Sam's just kind of like, and he's like, I can't go out with you, Rachel. And it's not because you have a little ass. I like little asses.
Teeny booty, that's what he said.
Teeny booty.
He says,
hanging out with Mercedes too long.
I'm still in love with Mercedes. I still have feelings for Mercedes. Which is
big ass, big cake.
But yeah, exactly, big ass. Which there was a joke they could have made there and said just, oh, and I do like teeny booty, but he could have been something like, I like all booties. And speaking of that, I still,
No, it's bizarre, and I don't know if it's 2015, but yeah, the unnecessary constant sexualization of everybody on this show. But I guess that's
Yeah.
half of the fun.
That's always been Glee. If you think about when they made Sam play the creature and he was supposed to be like 15, 16, and his teacher is making him basically perform in like teeny little trunks, and Sam
With
starts
his
thinking,
teeny little booty.
Ooh.
and Sam is like thinking he's fat, like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So then so Sam walks away and Rachel is like hurt, but like she's not heartbroken. Like she's just kind of like,
got a get out of jail free card. I don't understand what she's so like broken up about. She didn't want anything real to happen, did she?
I don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't know.
And then
We
Sue,
haven't spent alone time with Rachel in that way of like what she wants personally. It's always been just like, now it's just about the Glee Club. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And
Sue,
yeah, the
like,
last time it was like just when Finn died.
yeah.
That's and now is
And
she
then
is she over it? Is she
had-
ready?
She had girl talk with Mercedes, and Mercedes was like, you should get back out there.
Oh yeah.
And then she didn't.
Because these characters can only date people they went to high school with.
Jesus.
Because they trauma bonded over doing Rocky Horror Glee show. So, and then Sue like floats by in the background on like a conveyor belt, and Rachel's like, "What?" And does that sort that? Oh, Sue comes back to hypnotize him again to get him to mess with Will, and it's basically like she just starts saying things, and he's like, "Are these phrases that hypnotize me or unhypnotize me?" And she's like, "They're just phrases that I like." And then he like goes back to the hypnosis mode. Like him and Jane Lynch are having fun with it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like it's fun, but I'm pretty sure the hypnotism stuff doesn't come back. I'm pretty sure like
Even
never,
in next episode?
Next episode.
I'm pretty
It
sure
has to.
I don't know. 50-50 chance they never clarify if Sam got unhypnotized.
Awesome.
Well, okay. Guess I'm gonna have to.
Okay.
That's what I'm gonna rely on. Be like, see into this crazy thing. Well, he's hypnotized by Sue still, guys. I don't know what to tell you.
So is that really everything that happened this episode?
You got to talk about the part where Will confronts Sue and she just unloads on him.
Oh, that's an
Her
iconic
whole monologue
scene.
is so funny because it's so pointlessly meta about the show itself.
Well, he's like, Will, Sue, why are you trying to destroy my life? He's like, because I hate you, Will Schuster. I put pee. You're putting my pee in your hair.
Is so gross.
You ate a fruitcake made with plaque from Brad, the piano player. And the reason Sam didn't ask Brad to teach them was because Brad has that foot collection.
2 double downs on Brad, the piano player. I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
I
It's really
mean,
dirty.
you
He's
know what?
also still being actively pursued by the people he owes money to for his crippling gambling addiction.
And
Okay, that's funny, but by implying that he collects his plaque and pictures of women, it's kink shaming.
you know what? But Brad is in a storied company with Quentin Tarantino and Dan Schneider.
Oh shit! Okay.
You know,
Once
the
again,
foot
just on the
fetishists.
show.
No,
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino has a real foot fetish, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Big
Yeah,
time.
and so
Yeah,
does
of
Dan
course.
Schneider. Because I was talking to like a kind of a film bro the other day, and I said something like, they were talking about, you haven't seen Quentin Tarantino stuff? I was like, isn't he kind of like Dan Schneider? Because of the foot, and they did not get it. I was like, it's a foot fetish joke, but yeah.
Yeah, the funniest part of it is where she goes, like, you don't know a single name of the true musical geniuses in that choir room. The band, who have demonstrated time and again that at the drop of a hat, they can play literally any song you can name, and you treat them like so much nameless human garbage.
That was
so
the best.
Yeah.
That was the best. And then because she's like, you pick only the most vulnerable students to shower upon, but like, what about Dreads or the Irish idiot Rory or that
or the black dancer whose name none of us remember, who you exploited
on
Matt with the Miss Spider Eggs in his
Who
ears.
you
and then
wrote-
forgot.
Yeah, you rode his back to win at sectionals and proceeded to ignore him into oblivion. That's
That's a meta reference to that actor being like,
Yeah, just written off. He had
That's
like
hilarious.
2 lines of dialogue.
that's so
Never
funny.
brought up again. It's like season 2 comes around, right? Or
And
is
he
it?
just transferred. They're just like, what happened to Matt? And they're like, oh, he transferred.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
And then
It was also like the same amount of care they gave to the time where he just like wasn't in an episode again, even if he didn't have lines. And Santana was like, yeah, he has spider in his eggs or spider eggs in his ears, so he's like in the hospital. And like we're like, okay, I guess we're moving on.
I think that was supposed to explain why he was on the list. the sexy
So-
Glee
Yeah.
list.
Oh yeah.
Is this meta joke kind of like is this what the rest of season 6 is, as they kind of put a bow on the entire season, is poke fun at themselves, or was this a fluke?
Probably.
I think there's a lot of this coming.
Because they did
I
that
hope
a little
so.
bit last season too.
Yeah.
Because it feels kind of to lampshade a really like flawed part of your show does not excuse it. It's funny,
Yeah.
but
that's the Glee thing, is they'll just call it out instead of fixing it.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then
Like
they
how
continue
she-
to do that with
how
like
she-
these new kids in the Glee Club.
Right. And how Sue consistently, confusingly accuses Will of being a pedophile, a pederast. And
Yeah,
like,
she's-
actually, it's not funny. It's very strange.
No.
No, because she's like, you are like these predators. You prey on the most vulnerable, and she makes a
She brings up
Sandusky
Sandusky.
reference. Yeah,
Yep.
she's like, you stalked a boy in the showers. And here's the thing: these critiques of Will preying on the vulnerable, stalking Finn in the showers, they are true. Like he is.
Yes.
He doesn't have adult friends. He's developing these weird emotional relationships with teenagers. That's uncomfy. But to just be like, oh, well, you're a pedophile, you're a predator. And he hasn't done that. I mean, he did suspend Marley for not wearing a bikini.
That's different.
That's different. Like he hasn't committed one of the most heinous acts you can commit. You know, he hasn't crossed that line, but he is creepy. But it's like, she takes it so far that we can't have a real. She knows, it's like Glee knows people hate Will at this point, so
Yeah.
they're just like
Mhm.
laying into him.
Okay.
But he's just like, I'm gonna bring Glee Club back when you retire, because Becky tweeted it that she's retiring.
And I also thought it was funny that she brings up, you know, like if you're lucky, your sphincter can squeak out a minute and a half of Wheel in the Sky, the only Journey song you have yet to ruin. I assume that's foreshadowing that they're definitely going to do Wheel in the Sky at some point during this
If
season.
they don't, that's bullshit.
Yeah, so that is Hurt Locker Part 1. It's
Yes,
really
I think finally that's the episode.
it's just a bunch of nonsense. It's just a bunch of.
It is.
It's like it feels like I'm watching one or looking at like, I think it's like the painting, like the Paradise of Earthly Delights, or one of those like 1800s-y like meditations on the meaninglessness of hell and life and existence that are just like weird absurdities. Like that's what I feel like I'm experiencing.
See, I like these remote Zooms, these podcasts, these remote podcasts, because once upon a time, I would have just had to nod and smile and pretend that I know exactly what you meant when you refer to the Garden of Earthly Delights. But now I can just Google it while we're talking. I can go, oh, yes, that painting. I know exactly what you're referring to, you pretentious son of a bitch.
Hannah, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I do the former. I just sit there and nod like, uh-huh.
To be fair, it took me years before I remembered that was the name of that painting. But it's like the painting with all the weird shit. Like most people have seen that
Cullen,
painting
there
somewhere.
are so many paintings with the weird shit.
Well, that's
The
why you
persistence
can
of
just
dreams.
you can nod and smile and be like, yeah, I know what type of painting you're talking about.
Yes, I've heard of paint. Yeah.
Yes.
Microsoft
Or
Paint.
Complete nonsense.
my favorite graphic design app, Microsoft Paint.
Graphic design is my passion.
I just finished a piece recently. It's White on My Bedroom is the piece.
Very
Well
avant-garde of you.
So yeah, Tina
Tina
time.
time. She's not
God
here.
bless Tina Cohen Chang. She was far away from this nonsense.
She's at Brown. She's learning stuff. She hopefully has better friends.
I hope she's at Brown. I hope she's not just sticking around. It was
I think
never
she's at Brown.
said. I in my heart believe that Tina is at Brown.
Yeah. Okay. MVPs and LVPs. Kyle, who's your least valuable player this week?
Oh, my least valuable. I mean, Sue is pretty downright evil in this episode. It was pretty easy. No one else no one else really does enough for me to feel that negatively about. So yeah, number one with a bullet, least favorite is Sue this episode. What cemented it within like 5 minutes is her altar shrine to Kurt and Blaine. It's so gross. It's so weird.
Yeah. So I wrote Shu and Sue, and I don't know why I wrote Shu. I think that's maybe just like that's like my default. I just always write it.
It's because of the fork.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to him too, but Sue, yeah, she just, although like her laying into him was like hilarious, everything else was just weird, and she was horrible, like breaking down like the diorama thing of the planets and terrifying children, and there's still an active caning policy, you know. So,
Not funny.
not funny.
I'm also going with Sue. I mean, there's no one else really to go with. Like, I'm trying to think. Yeah. There's nothing else.
People who put gum on those
terrible.
seats that janitor Principal Figgins had to clean. That's a good contender.
Walter's up there. I think in a
Oh,
normal
I forgot
episode.
about
Walter.
Yeah, Walter could be up there, but I think Stu takes the cake. I think assaulting multiple children in like one musical number, which this isn't the first time she's done it.
Not to mention,
sure.
she was using that drone. She purposely flew it low so that kids would scatter. So she's terrorizing them.
I'm really excited for the updated release of Dante's Inferno, where at the bottom circle of hell, it's like Judas, Brutus, Mordred, and Sue Sylvester.
There's that pretentious son of a bitch again. About epic poetry by Virgil.
That Dante's Inferno is really just self-insert fanfic. It is 1400s Wattpad.
I can't wait for the James Cameron Dante's Inferno. That's going to be such a banger.
Is he making a Dante's
No, I'm
Inferno?
joking.
He would.
I mean, I would believe it. Yeah.
Definitely would.
He's going to find the actual physical last circle of hell and go there in
Starring
his
Christian
submarine.
Bale.
Christian Bale is playing Dante. Tilda Swinton is Lucifer.
Tilda Swinton's as
duh.
Virgil. Is that the guy who's walking him through, or no?
Oh yeah, Virgil's walking him through. They'll
Satan
get
will be Danny DeVito.
DeVito. Lily Reinhart will be Beatrice. Yes, perfect.
Oh gosh.
So MVPs.
I also played the PS3 game. Sorry, go ahead.
I have read the Wikipedia synopsis of the PS3 game. I'm a gamer. Kyle, what was your favorite character? Who's your MVP?
Oh, well, it's funny. The one I wrote down, I feel like I've learned too much about them now. But I was gonna say Dave gets my MVP because of how hard he fucking plays the field. Like, I could not fill a restaurant of my past conquests, but now that's what I strive to do. I want to be able to fill an entire restaurant of people that I've dated.
Goals.
Amazing.
Goals. You know what? He deserves an MVP. He's been through a lot. He's made it out on the other side.
He survived a bear attack.
Yeah. He is a Reba level survivor.
And surviving a real life bear attack is a great iguebreaker for bears.
That is actually, oh my gosh.
He just gave him the golden ticket.
Kravsky deserves it because, like, again, also he seems to be more well-adjusted. You know, he's getting things done, which is good for him. I have a tie between the lead singer vocal adrenaline setting those boundaries and telling Will not to touch him.
Nice.
And the faceless vocal adrenaline person who's like, we don't like you. So shout out to those guys.
I think I'm gonna go with the lobster costume that Becky was wearing.
Not Becky, the lobster costume.
Oh yeah, we forgot to tell you can pick inanimate objects.
Pizza has won before. Yeah.
Sweater has won before.
Oh, well, then I would have picked the wig that Iqbal Thibault wears, but oh well.
I'm gonna go with Sam mainly for being funny and for having hobbies outside of football and Glee Club. He blows glass. Catch Sam at your local art fair.
Yeah, selling like fancy vases and whatever else people blow glass. I don't know.
Okay,
we need to become proactive about what our outside interests are.
Yeah. I mean, quotable. It's on a t-shirt.
Okay, so what is the music? We have 1,000 Miles, I'm a bitch, Rock Lobster, and Whip It.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, so because they were
pretty
like
retro
one performance, I thought them as one song. So depending on how you look at it, either 3 or 4 songs, and the first song didn't happen for 15 minutes.
Yep.
So.
All right. Kyle, what was your least favorite song?
Oh, my least favorite song was Rock Lobster. The song is hilarious, but when you try to do it seriously, it shows how stupid you are. So yeah, Rock Lobster. And also the costumes made no sense. It just felt very out of place. And it was like, what are we doing here? This is a waste that you've all worked so hard to memorize a really stupid number.
Yeah. And I mean, also, you know what? Maybe that's why I put Shu as the LVP for like coming up with those numbers, because he should not be in these like high leagues. That was just terrible. I'm also going with Rock Lobster. Yeah.
We were at the beach. Like, how is that appropriate for an a cappella concert?
It was really bad. I'm going with Rock Lobster too. So I love the costume that Becky wears, but I hate the song.
Yeah, I think we're getting a unanimous Rock Lobster.
Ooh.
I mean, if I could, I like Rock Lobster and Whip It together. Again, it was just like meaningless noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kyle, what was your favorite song?
Oh, I really liked Bitch. I had no idea I'm pretty sure it's Jane Lynch actually singing, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Yeah, she kills it. And I thought she was great. And like the choreography is hilarious. Once, you know, if you can just kind of get past the horror of it in universe, but just like for the sake of a hilarious kind of music video, I think Bitch was probably the best one. But Whip It, I still stand by being I want to arrange that just for acapella, because I still think that's a no-brainer. Of course, that's a great acapella song, Whip It. But as far as the sequence for the show, Bitch gets the best song for me.
Yeah, I second that. I love that song, and I like Jane Lynch's version. I don't love the horror of her like swatting at those planets, but like it was kind of funny that she was like in a drawer, and I'm like, how is that working? How is Rachel seeing this? So that was some fun visual gags. But I do want to give a nod to 1,000 Miles because it was a really good cover. I really liked the harmonies. So
I'm going to go with 1,000 Miles because, like Hannah said, it's a good cover. It has great harmonies. I think that's actually like one of the times where I have heard someone sing with Rachel and they don't get completely drowned out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like kudos to Sam for holding his own in this duet. And I think it really, really worked very well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 1,000 Miles. Actually, that's one of my favorite Glee covers. I think it's really good. I hate to say it's better than the original because the original is so iconic, but like it's one of the Glee covers that like justifies its existence. Like it's an interesting interpretation and it's good in its own right. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our episode. Kyle, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
Oh gosh. Okay. I guess you can listen to my podcast that hopefully by the time this releases is still going strong, The Gory Days. Wherever you listen to podcasts, on Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to this, you can check out The Gory Days. That's my podcast. Other than that, I've got some other things in the hopper right now that I'm not ready to talk about, but if you stick around The Gory Days, hopefully within the next month, you'll be hearing about a new podcast that I'm putting out with a friend of mine.
Very cool. If you want to follow Gleeboot, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We are at Gleeboot Pod. We're also still on Tumblr, gleebootpod.tumblr.com.
You can follow me on Instagram at Cullen Ever After, and you can check out my TikTok, your boy Ryan99. I just made a rapture joke.
Oh shit! I gotta check that out. I didn't know you had a TikTok.
Rapture joke.
You can follow me on Instagram. You want to say your thing?
I was just saying that my TikTok was created as part of this character social media presence, and it still kind of is, but the lines are much blurrier now. Allyssa. No.
Oh boy. Is there dots in it?
Yeah,
Okay.
A.M.
A.M.SWEARIMG, and that's it.
On Instagram. She's made some art recently. Check it out.
Yes,
Yay.
I did actually post some shit.
Awesome.
All right. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for coming on. We hope you had fun.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it was great to dip my toe back into the world of choir music. It was really fun.
And when it comes to the world of Glee, I am grateful you get to dip your toe back out.
Yeah, just a toe, nothing more.
Tune in next week for Hurt Locker Part 2 with Eliza, who you may know as Possum Girl on TikTok, my friend coworker who is really blowing up lately. So she was even in a Distractify article. Howie Mandel stitched her. Yeah.
Wow.
We have an internet celebrity coming.
Cannot wait.
Yes. All right. Tune in next week for Hurt Locker Part 2. Bye.
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 Gleeboot.